Of course, this is a Safe Streets Coalition meeting for May, and this is, of course, new to us, so please bear with us. For the next slide, we do want to welcome you, and we're glad that you chose to join us. As I said, you know, if you have a problem, be sure and email us after the meeting, and then we'll be sure to correct it for the next time. I do want to recognize our PARS Safe Street staff who've joined us today. Michelle Voth is Executive Director of Prevention Recovery Services. Lynn Smith is Community Prevention Consultant. Dana Swartz, she's Licensed Addiction Counselor. Irene Caballeros, the Stop Grant Coordinator, Bilingual Community Mobilizer. Michaela Butterworth is Education and Communication Specialist. And I'm Judy Wilson, Office Manager and National Night Out Program Coordinator. So if you want anything from any of our staff, just please sure to email us and we'll be glad to help you, especially in this time with the COVID-19. We did put the agenda up. Normally it's printed for you, but at least this gives you kind of an idea of our regular agenda for today. We will move on after this to the minutes. Our champion of character, I'm sorry. Champion of character normally is a person that we recognize each month, but this month we thought that we wanted to do champions during the COVID-19 because we do extend our deepest gratitude to the essential workers who are out on the front lines to keep us safe and healthy during this COVID-19. And of course, that's everyone from our medical staff to those who prepare food for us. So we're really grateful to them. The next slide is the minutes, and we normally, of course, print them for you. We don't need a motion or anything for this meeting, but I wanted to provide them to you so that you could tell what was discussed at our last meeting. So there'll be 3 slides here for you, or I guess there's 4. One more. And of course, we do have our staff report, and this goes for 2 meetings since we didn't have one in March. This goes from March the 2nd to May the 4th. We do neighborhood watch meetings, of course. The first 4 meetings were held in person, but of course then the COVID-19 came along and we couldn't do face-to-face meetings. So we contacted 126 neighborhoods by email and several by phone. And of course, we've reached then, as you can see, 2,839 people. Now, all of these neighborhoods also have phone trees, and all the phone trees have been updated and sent to them so that they can contact their neighbors during this time. We do presentations as well, and we did one presentation with Misty Glen Apartments prior to the COVID-19. And what they're going to do is they're going to have a new neighborhood watch, and you can see there up in the neighborhood watch meetings that there were 2 at that meeting. And they're also interested in hosting a national night out. So we're really glad about that. As we go down to the Latino Initiatives, you'll see that there were 7 presentations. Now, the last 5 or last 4 presentations were given through Zoom. So again, that was after the COVID-19 took effect. And of course, on the substance abuse task force meeting, we want to call your attention to the meeting on May 19th. There is your Zoom login there, your ID and your password. And if you want to join by phone, the phone number's there as well. So we hope that you'll join that meeting. It's a really good meeting. So you can just click on that link, and I'm sure that they'll be glad that you joined them. The next slides are crime stats. Now these, for the next slide, it would be, there we go, the violent crimes. Now, you can see the ones in red, of course, the ones that have increased, the ones in blue have reduced. So you can look at those. We don't have anyone here today that can really describe them for us, but we're glad that they provided the information for us. The next one is the property crimes. And so you can see some of those are down as well, more so than the ones that have increased. And we have with us today Deputy Shauna Anderson, and she's going to give us an update on the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. And we will come to a point here where we'll have questions after she presents. So if you have a question, just put it in the chat at the bottom of the screen, and we'll be glad to answer the question.
You're welcome. So just a couple updates with what we've had going on the last couple months. So Sheriff Hill put together a burglary task force. With that task force, intel indicated a rise in residential and vehicle burglaries over the past 6 weeks. Our enforcement response was based on crime analysis using mapping technology. And with that burglary task force, 9 arrests were made over the past 3 weeks. And we recovered property, including vehicles, motorcycles, and a tractor. And then with COVID-19 happening, Sheriff Hill wanted to put together a Good Neighbor program, which is a program that citizens can utilize, and it's mostly focused for at-risk citizens, so elderly, people who are immunocompromised or disabled. They can call us if they have any grocery pickup orders at any of the local grocery stores. We'll go and pick up their groceries for them and deliver them to their residents. And we're also making deliveries for Meals on Wheels during the week. And with those 2 programs, we have we've made over 70 deliveries since then. So those are just a couple updates that we have.
I guess now, if anybody has any questions for the Sheriff's Department, if you, down at the bottom, you'll see chat. If you click on that, there's a place where you can type a message. So there's one question: how has COVID-19 affected your response in the Sheriff's Department?
So what we have done is we obviously are going to respond to any calls that we need to. We can't, put everything on hold. So if it's an emergency, obviously we're going to need to respond. We are doing some reports over the phone if it's something that can be handled over the phone. If it's, a past crime or maybe a financial related crime, we'll take those over the phone. Some of our officers are being utilized in different ways. Our school resource officers, obviously, since schools are closed, they're being used elsewhere. And so a couple of them are handling some of those phone calls or reports that can be taken over the phone.
So anyway, we'd love to hear more about the new Shawnee County Community Care Lines.
Yes. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me today. I'm Amy with Vallejo. I'm the Corporate Development Director there. And I've just been so pleased to work on the planning committee for this new project that was really brought on due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a very collaborative project, and it's been a joy to work with these community partners. It's a project that involves Vallejo and Family Service and Guidance Center, Health Source, the United Way, the City of Topeka, and the Shawnee County Health Department. And of course, I'd like to thank the Topeka Community Foundation for funding the project. We received one of their grants. They're doing COVID-19 response grants, and we were the recipient of a grant from them to fund this. The idea behind this was trying to combat loneliness. Everyone, has been under a stay-at-home order until Monday, and people were spending a lot more time at home. Certainly not engaging in a lot of social or work commitments that had been on their plates, for a very long time. And so we were trying to think of a way that we could put trusted community volunteers at service to people who might be feeling isolated, lonely, frustrated, and know that there was always someone available to talk with them, whether they needed to find a resource, or they just needed someone to answer a question, or they needed someone to vent, or they just simply needed some companionship. And so that's what we have put in place here. This is not a crisis line, and we try to make that very clear, because Vallejo does have a crisis line, and so does Family Service and Guidance Center. And should we get calls on this line where it seems to be going in that direction, where somebody is perhaps citing suicide ideation or mentioning that they're extremely depressed, something of that nature, we can automatically take these calls and transfer them to Vallejo's crisis line or the Family Service and Crisis line in a very smooth and very quick, efficient way. So that's another nice thing. It's another way to try to help the community as a whole. We are manning the lines right now from Monday through Friday, from 9 to 5. And the volunteers for the line are community members right here in Topeka that have volunteered through the United Way, through their volunteer service. And that website is topekavolunteers.org. And it takes 5 minutes or less. You need to sign on just to create an account. And then there is a box that says Shawnee County Cares warm line. And you click on that and it takes you to the different shifts that are available. The volunteer shifts are 2-hour shifts. And once you sign up, then you will receive information from Colleen at Health Source on how to download an app, etc., and get a training manual. So is Colleen on the line?
I don't see her. Let me
You
try.
don't see her? Okay.
Let me see.
If not, I'll keep going, but
Let me see. Nope.
no, okay. So once you sign up to be a volunteer through the United Way, you will receive a training packet for us. And we did record training sessions by video that you will have a link to go to YouTube and just have a very quick training. And then you'll be asked to download a free app from 3X. And basically that then allows you to see when a call is coming in on your phone and it's related to the warm line versus a personal call, okay, during that 2-hour shift. I should mention that because of COVID-19, all of our volunteers are working out of their home. So it's a really great volunteer gig because you don't even have to leave the house. So, you know, if you're at all interested in joining, you know, and becoming a volunteer, we would love to have you. And you can do that through topekavolunteers.org. I should mention the number of the line. It's 800-972-8199. And again, that is open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So that is all that I have to cover. But of course, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those for you.
Well, I do have some questions in the chat. One is, are there specific areas? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so this is from Steve. They assumes that you're tracking the number of calls that are taken. And so what numbers of calls are the volunteers seeing so far?
We are tracking calls. We started this line just 3 weeks ago. It was actually launched by the mayor and during one of the weekly press conferences from the health department. And our biggest concern when we launched the line was having volunteers to take the calls. And so we have been, over the last 3 weeks, working very hard to market the number. And that's why we just are so appreciative today to have this opportunity to ask you to help us get this number out there for the community. Right now, we're seeing about, volunteers are taking between 2 and 3 calls a shift in the 2-hour period. So we have a ways to go in terms of getting the number out there and getting that call volume up.
Amy, how many volunteers do you have right now?
We have 41.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Amy, and I don't want to put on the chat because I'm sharing my screen. Do you have anyone who speaks Spanish?
You know, actually, that is a great question, and we do not.
Well, I can do my 2 hours with you guys.
Well, that's very nice.
Yeah, I'll go into the thing. Yeah, I'll send you an email.
Yes. Yeah, that's really nice. Thank you for
Okay.
that.
Is there a plan for how long this will actually be in effect?
You know, when we launched the line, we talked about 6 months, but it's really a flexible kind of thing. We can keep it up and going longer if there's a need, or if the call volume, you know, doesn't increase and we need to reduce maybe the days of the week or the hours or something, we can do that too. So we can be very flexible based on the need of the community.
So there was a request, could we send this info and phone number? Could that be emailed out to us? And yes, actually after the meeting today, we'll put this on City 4. We will also email a link and to the meeting, so people who weren't able to join will be able to hear the discussion, but we'll also put a link in and the phone number for everyone as well.
I also do have flyers and I do have social media banners. If anybody would be interested in any of those materials, I could certainly get those to you as well, if that would be helpful.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be great. Any other questions of Amy? There was a question that was related to the Sheriff's Department, and I missed that one as we kind of moved on to this. Let me see, now it's not showing up. I wondered if the, let me see where it is, if the jail is taking misdemeanors was a question. And Janet, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, they are.
Great. Are there any other questions of Amy? It's a great resource, and you know, there are so many people at home now that are alone and maybe need somebody to talk to. So I'm wondering how this the idea of it was initiated originally. Could you speak to that, Amy?
Well, sure. And I'm actually happy to do that because that just throws me to my wonderful boss, Bill Persinger. It was actually Bill's idea, and he was wanting to find a way that we could, you know, help the community in the whole. And he talked with Brenda Mills from Family Service Guidance Center and the mayor. And I think they talked on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon for a couple hours trying to work this out. And so we're very pleased that we got it off the ground and we were able to kind of run with it and get it going.
Great. I've got some more questions here I want to make sure I cover. We'll send out the information, but do you know if the volunteers have had to refer any calls to the crisis hotline?
You know, I don't have that data. That's a really good question, and I'm writing that down right now because I actually need to ask Colleen to run that report for me. I don't know.
And there's a question from Sarah who works with the NIAs and communicates closely with the neighborhood leaders. she'd like you to send anything to her about that. And I can give you her email address and phone
Okay.
number as well, because that
Wonderful.
would be great to get out to the NIAs.
Wonderful.
I just want to let you know, Bill, that you are unmuted if you want to add something about the program. Uh-oh, now you're mute again. I don't know what happened. There you go.
There.
I just want to say thank you to Amy and all the other sponsors and Mayor's Office and to Family Service and Guidance for partnering up and delivering what I hope will be a fine service for people. And since we have the structure in place, you know, if the pandemic gets to a place where, you know, life gets back to whatever we might call normal in the future, and we don't need the line, and we can always reactivate if there's a resurgence, or if there's another community crisis, or maybe we just find there's an ongoing need for people to have, you know, someone to talk to. I'm grateful that we have such good partners in all of you.
It's a great idea, Bill. There is one more question, and please feel free to continue to ask questions in the chat, but what's the feedback that you've received so far from people that have been using the service?
Well, we have two levels of feedback. One is from volunteers, of course, and because we actually send them a survey after each shift to ask them sort of what kind of calls they had and what the content of the calls, if you will. I mean, you know, sort of in different brackets of content. And then, of course, we have the feedback from the actual people who call in, and they receive a survey if they'd like one to be emailed to them. Some don't want one. So we have those two different levels of feedback. The feedback from the volunteers is that the line is very helpful and the line is very useful. There are a lot of people, it seems, that they've talked to that just sort of don't know where to turn to for a specific resource. Food has been maybe the most continuous theme of the calls, of just concern over not having enough food or where to go for food, or how to make sure that their food is safe, things of that nature. So that has been kind of a running theme of the calls. And I do not have any information on the surveys that have been turned in from the actual people that have called the line. Okay. So I would have to report back on that for you.
Leslie commented this information might be helpful for the Jayhawk Area Agency on Aging. I don't know if you reached out to them.
Good idea.
Okay.
But that's a
I'm
great
making
idea.
a note of that.
Yeah.
It is a great idea.
And Michaela said she'd be happy to share the information on all of the PARS pages. We've shared it when it first came out, but we can do it again. And then Irene, I'm sure
I can do it in Spanish. I can translate and do it for the Latino community, yes.
Right.
Wonderful. That is just great.
And also Teresa, the Topeka Rescue Mission as well. You probably reached out to them, but
yeah. Yes, we did.
Not.
And we also just last week, we sent out information to about 40 nursing facilities and long-term assistant care facilities to see if they would be interested in passing the information on to their clients. And we heard back from 9 of them so far. And so we're getting the information to them, to those 9. I also printed about 10,000 flyers, which we are having Glory Days Pizza include in their pizza deliveries and their curbside deliveries, helping kind of in a grassroots way get the word out that way. So these are all great suggestions. And if you have more suggestions, my email is on the slide. Please send them to me because I love ideas and would be happy to get this information to anybody who would need it.
And I missed part of that. So one of the questions, online directory of services, be helpful. I guess you talked a little bit about that. And if you have folks that need food but don't have transportation, Sarah Douglas has said she'd be happy to help deliver to those folks. Have you gotten any requests for those kinds of things? I'm curious.
Super.
No, we haven't. Just in terms of where can I go and what can I do kinds of questions. So,
Sure.
but I definitely will pass that on. And Sarah, thank you for that. How kind of you. And I really appreciate that.
Great. Well, it's a wonderful service, and I don't see any other questions unless anybody else. Oh, here. There's one more. This and the sheriff's too, Shanna. What was that question, Michaela? Let's see. For delivery. I'm not hearing anything.
Let me see if she's muted. She went back to muted. I didn't do it for you, but.
Okay, there we go. So our delivery right now is just for the grocery stores. So if anyone is needing food picked up from harvesters or doorstep or anything like that, we're not doing those types of deliveries, just the grocery store pre-orders.
Great, okay. Thank you. Well, we've all had to get creative in this environment. And this community has really stepped up to the plate, I think, in more ways than one. So I don't see any more questions.
There's one more.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, here, Dick Klein is saying he can help deliver too. And is there
Oh, Dick, thank you so much.
And is there any other way we can help?
Well, I mean, I think that you would be doing us just a tremendous service if you can pass this information on to as many people as you can through social media, through just emailing the flyer, just helping us get the word out would be tremendous, tremendous help. And I thank you in advance for all of your efforts in doing that for us.
Well, absolutely. And thanks for all the work that you all and all your partners have done in making this happen.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thanks for having us today.
Sure.
Good job, Amy. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Bill.
Well, that concludes kind of the end of our formal presentation. Irene, I wonder if you want to pose any questions?
Well, I'm going to go back instead of sharing our presentation so we have more space to look at each other. Maybe I can unmute and try if there's any kind of conversation.
There is one thing in the chat, I don't know if everybody can see, that says, remember that Topeka Metro allows passengers to ride free through the end of May. And question about, has WIBW been informed about this number? I think I've heard them talk about it, but.
Yes, they have.
And one thing I would love to have one of our staff share something that PARS has been doing is virtual prom. Has anybody heard or seen about that?
That's great.
So, Michaela, I'm going to put you on the spot. Oh, it gave me a little jog, but that's great.
That's okay. I'm going to ask Amy to return a favor. She knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, I'll do it right now.
Thank you so much. Just a little bit of insight. Together with our media partners from KSNT, we felt terrible, just like everyone else in the community did, about seniors not being able to do two things. A, graduate, which seems to be now taking place virtually also. and having a prom. So we decided to offer the opportunity to Shawnee County residents of any age. So you can be 3 and you can be 93 if you like, to dress up in some kind of outfit. It doesn't even have to be prom wear, and host your own little mini prom at home. And then we're running a competition in conjunction with this. So we have 3 prizes of $150 gift cards together with a free roll of toilet paper that we are awarding, which when we first published that was a really big deal because it was sold out everywhere. And so we have 3 prizes. The categories are Best Family Photo, we have Best Proposal Video, and then we have the Most Creative Outfit, because we're trying to encourage people to kind of make things from home. I think Sarah approves of that idea by her face. So yeah, and what we were trying to do is, because this is when, you know, we were in full lockdown, was to encourage people to still honor the kids in your life, especially if they're juniors and seniors, for prom. And then also have kind of like a family celebration to celebrate that. If you'd like to know more about that opportunity and look at some of the items that people have been submitting, you can go to our Paths to Topeka Facebook page, and we have a group in there that's a virtual prom group. And if you just sign up for the group, then we'll moderate you into that group, and then you'll get to see all of the fantastic content. And we will be announcing the winners on KSNT on Monday, May 11th.
And
If there's any questions, let me know.
I'm going to brag on one of our board members who has a young daughter in 2nd grade, and she and her dad didn't go to the dad-daughter dance.
Mm-hmm.
So they created a whole environment in their home for a party, dressed up, and her daughter was just absolutely thrilled. So it's not just prom, like Michaela says, it can be from 3 to 93. And we're hoping people have fun with it.
Yeah, so the daddy-daughter dances are a great idea. So we posted her pictures from that. If you'd like to see those, they're out there too. What we're struggling with is getting people to engage from the community. So if you guys could help us share that message with the community and kind of get it out there and really encourage people to participate, that would be awesome. Thank you.
So it's a great idea.
So I guess because I've been playing with the Zoom thing for the meeting, and I'm sorry I lost the internet. We could move ahead without problem, but what I'm feeling during this meeting is that I'm so proud of the organizations in our community trying to step up to these unprecedented times and understand what are the needs of our people. And it's amazing to hear how people that was at the meeting were so open to volunteer, taking groceries or doing whatever. And I guess that we need to be grateful. We need to see the good side of things and just be proud of what's going on the positive side. This is gonna last the time it has to last, but we have a lot of good things going on in the community, and that makes me feel proud.
Absolutely. There was one comment in the chat from Leslie that, yes, the Nextdoor app is another thing that we can market and get information out about community events and things like that. So
I would like to say the one thing that for the food deliveries, I will go to the agencies to get the food. I don't go to the grocery store and pick up the food. So that's where I differ from the police. So I actually had people say, hey, can you go to the Dollar Tree? No.
You guys compliment each other. You guys compliment each other.
Right. But if you need something from, and I work with all the from Doorstep to the Mission to Catholic Charity to Let's Help, I will actually go and get those. And I dropped off a couple this morning already. So it's a good
Oh,
point.
thank you.
great. That's awesome. Well, this is not our typical meeting, but we're really glad all of you that have joined have been able to join us. We certainly will be interested in knowing ideas for other topics that you would be interested in. Next month, we're looking at doing a panel and talking about some of the impact and crime rate related things. But we certainly would like input from you all for future events. We don't know how long this will go on and what we can do to keep people informed and engaged when we're not face to face. So if you have any thoughts now, we're certainly be willing to hear any ideas. I see Dick Klein there. You've been involved in Safe Streets for a very long time. How are you? A little different from day one with Safe Streets.
Yes.
Oh, I was confused because his name says Melanie.
Yeah, you're
And so I was like, why does Melanie have a beard?
It's been a long few weeks.
I haven't seen Dick Klein here. I know him very well. Hi, Dick. And I'm like, where is him? No, that's
I know, I was looking for his name
calling
too.
to all the participants. So good to see you, Dick.
Sorry, Dick.
My wife understands technology a lot better than I do, so
I totally get it.
it's on her computer, and she allows me to use it.
Ask her if she can put Melanie and Dick.
There you go. She can change it.
Or Dick.
Yeah, sorry about that. I am curious, this is kind of the first public Zoom meeting that we've done. So for all of you that are attending, if you've done these before, how does this kind of compare to other public forum Zooms that you've done?
Oh, very comparable. You know, I'm on multiple Zoom calls a week, and this is how they go. I mean, you know, this is very typical, and yeah.
And so is it best to do you feel the chat like verbally like we're doing it, or do you appreciate having the chat in the written part so that you can look at it later? I'm just curious of what everyone's doing around town.
Me personally, I like getting the agenda and then I can kind of take the notes off of the agenda, kind of know where we're going.
Okay.
And I also like the way that if you have something to say, you can say it. Like this was a little bit different because we were muted. So you aren't just able to kind of like speak when you want to say something. So that was a little bit different. I haven't been to a Zoom meeting like that before where you're the administrator is in charge of that. Normally you can mute or unmute yourself. So that was a little different for me. But I mean, it's nice. And I think it's nice to be able to put the names with the faces and see what the agencies are doing and actually have an open conversation. So I really like the Zoom meetings.
Well, Sarah, thank you for the mute and unmute. We were thinking about that. And we didn't want noise, but you know, I guess everyone can unmute themselves. So this is the first time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that idea too. Oh,
This
Melanie?
Yeah. No, what we've found on that mute and unmute with some of the other groups have had is just out of protocol, if people would mute because it does cut back on the back sounds, you know, like dogs barking or kids or anything else, and then they can mute and unmute as they want to speak. But I think it's great. Just like we were saying earlier, it's wonderful just to see the people that you don't get to see anymore on a regular basis.
Right.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought in February that the word Zoom would become so much of our vocabulary?
Right? So true. Well, thank you for your feedback. I was just curious to see how everyone else was doing with it.
So I
will say one of the things that the United Way does after their weekly call is they do send a transcript of the call after. So I didn't know if you had that planned, but
It's going to be next month. check for that. Like it, you know, we didn't know how many people will show up and how the noise would be and all that jazz. So now we found out there are those kind of things that we like. So we're working on the right package of service for us right now. And hopefully next month we're going to have that. Thank you.
Yeah.
After this meeting, we'll go ahead and it'll be recorded and sent to City 4. It'll be on City 4, and also we'll have a YouTube link, and that will be sent out as well and put on our website. And also we'll do the MP4 from this meeting and send to the city. So we hope to get it out to everyone. But
and it's gonna go to Facebook as well. But let's see how it works, because remember that I'm recording before and after. I don't know if it's gonna be two different. We need to work on that. So maybe it's gonna take a little bit more than one day.
And Amy, thanks for the transcript suggestion. I'll see what I can do with the video once I get it. Maybe I can make that happen anyway.
We're all going to be superstars.
Eventually, yeah.
Well, we're all learning different skills. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely new skill set.
I've always been technically challenged.
Isn't it amazing that we're talking to everyone in the meeting and not just your round table?
Yeah, I do like that aspect of it. I feel like I get to know people better this way.
And nobody's back is to you. That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sometimes when you're in a meeting, you have to turn around and see who's talking, or if you're talking, the people behind you can't really see you. And so this to me is a whole lot better because you can see everybody and it lights up so you know who's talking.
Yeah, I like that part for sure.
Sarah, you have a professional wall behind you because it's just one color. I don't have any of those in my house. I'm like, I want one of those so I can use the landscape picture, but I don't.
So I have to tell you guys, I took a Zoom yesterday and the guy was sitting with a green screen behind him, and then he was wearing a sweatshirt that had something green on it.
Oh, yeah,
so he had changed his background to like a bookcase. Irene, I think you were there. So you could see through him. It was kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And the background was showing, it looked like he had a hole in his middle.
Yeah, I guess Zoom needs to improve that part of the background picture because it's not working as well as.
Yeah, so then they did a poll to find out, do you think it's cool or creepy? And I was like, both? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, technology. Anyway, sorry.
So, anything else?
I'll go ahead and send an email to everyone, and I'll put a questionnaire on there so you can put all your thoughts and you know, any other topics you might have for their subjects. So I really appreciate you all joining today.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for being here. Does any other agency need us to help sharing information from them for anything? No? Okay.
Okay. Well, be well. Stay safe.
Thank you, everyone.
Social distance.
Thank
Thanks for attending, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
And transportation time for the next one. So thank you.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye-bye.